Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the program Stewardship with SNB, live from the studios of Rstv in Port Harcourt. This program can only be watched on GoTV channel 142, and of course on our social media handles such as YouTube and Facebook. My name is Solomon Nassim, welcoming you to the Friday edition of the program Stewardship with SNB. It is no longer news that there is ability and disability all over the world. Little wonder, countries around the globe are now formulating policies towards giving equal rights to even those living with disabilities. It is on that note that the Freaky Andrew SCN Care Foundation, an organization with a vision to add value to the lives of target vulnerable groups in our society and communities, being orphans and vulnerable children, persons with disabilities, youth, and the less privileged in society. Through a variety of organization-led programs and partnerships for 11 years, they have provided step-gap support for these target vulnerable groups, for people with disabilities. They have also empowered persons with disabilities, especially women with disabilities, through different empowerment and capacity building programs. They are advocates. They advocate to enhance social inclusion for people with disabilities and continue to advocate for better policies and disability rights. On that note, let me introduce my guests to the studio who are from the Fair Care Foundation here in Port Harcourt. First is Mr. Udeme Matthias Udo. He's an advocate, Fair Care Foundation. Mr. Udo, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Port Harcourt.
All right. And also with me in the studio is Emmanuel Bomidia. He's a program officer, Fair Care Foundation. Emmanuel?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right, gentlemen. Let's start this way. First to Udeme. What is disability rights? Or what would you say is disability in its sense?
Thank you so much. Disability right is actually a human right that is actually put in place.
No, I meant what is disability?
Oh, disability. Disability is that a aspect of one's life which in some ways have some limitation, especially in the physical, sensory, and other aspect of the human life. That does not mean that these limitations is completely impaired the individual from functioning, but it's actually that aspect that in some ways posed some level of limitations on the individual. So disability is not just a kind of death sentence that some do consider to have been. It's actually a limitation in some ways, either physical or sensory, or call it mental, as long as the individual is in some ways not able to do or make good use of that aspect of his or her life, disability can said to have occurred.
All right, let me let our viewer know. You are visually impaired, but you can read and write. Can you?
Yes, I do.
How are you able to achieve that?
It is through a program called rehabilitation. Rehabilitation program of the blind actually gave such opportunity for persons who have visual challenges to actually still read and also write like every other person. And that is why the disability right you asked before come into play. And of course, it's a right that everyone should enjoy, irrespective of his or her disability or not. So I was able to read and write after being impaired because of a motor accident, and that was through a rehabilitation program that actually accorded me that ability to read and to write again.
Interesting. All right, let me turn to Emmanuel Bomidia. Emmanuel Bomidia, what is disability? Is it inborn or inflicted humanly?
Disability, it can be inborn, and some are acquired. Not every person with disability were born with disability. Some actually acquired it either through accidents or through kinds of sicknesses and all that. So.
Okay, so how would you describe or define disability rights initiative programs?
Okay, so Disability Rights Initiative Program is a continual effort by FAK Foundation to push for disability rights and advance the rights of persons with disability. And the aim of the program is to push for the accessibility of the physical environment of Rivers State, to make sure that the environment is accessible, not just for persons with disability, but for everyone having.
Yeah, the Fair Care Foundation happens to be funding or helping people with disabilities and all of that. Where is it getting its funds from? You are the program officer of that organization.
Yes. So some of the programs like this Disability Rights Initiative projects, they are funded by disability rights funds. So most of our programs are funded
By
internationally.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So one of these, let me ask Udeme Matthias Udo, the advocate in that Fair Care Foundation. So what are some of the perspectives of disabilities, Udeme?
Some of the perspective, you can say the physical perspective is there. The sensory, that's the physical. Someone with handicapping condition, like someone being on a wheelchair, someone that has either one of his or her hand cut off, or the legs cut off, any physical disability that one can see. That is the physical aspect of disability there. Then the sensory, that has to do with the visual impairment, those with hearing impairment, and speech disorders, and so on. Those who have inability, those who have limitation in making use of their senses, that's that aspect of disability. And we have the mental one, the intellectual one, also they are there. We have also the psychosocial. There are quite a number of us different aspects of this disability, and one can say that it's not just limited to those one that is obvious, where one can see. There are some that are not visible, that are hidden. Someone that is unable to read and write, he or she is in some ways experiencing this disability that we are talking about. So it's cut across all segments of human life. Where there is a limitation in making good use of that aspect of your life as created originally by our supreme creator, definitely a disability is said to occur in such a life.
Are there deliberate policies by either the federal government or the state government to protecting the rights of people with disabilities?
Yeah, there are. We have.
Tell us about it.
Yes, we have the disability prohibition rights of 2018. Yeah, the law was signed by 2018 by then president. So it's actually there for persons with disability to have some privileges and of course rights that can protect their interests as a full citizen of this country. Also, the Rivers State Enhancement Welfare Law 2012 is also there, though we are trying to shift away from that welfare, which of course we have been pushing to see that it's not just a welfare program in the state, but just from the rights perspective. And that's why we keep calling on the government to domesticate that national law, that is the Disability Prohibition Act of 2018, and make it a state law here as against that Welfare Enhancement Law 2012. So those are the laws that we have currently. And of course, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, they are also there in pushing for our rights and also protecting those rights that we with one form of disability or the other have to enjoy as a full citizen. So those rights are there.
Okay, thank you so much. Emmanuel Bomedia, do you think government is protecting people with disabilities enough? Government, I mean the federal, the state, and of course society itself. Do you think people with disabilities are well protected?
Me personally, I feel they are not well protected enough. So many times their rights have been infringed on. Because actually working with these advocates, with persons with disabilities, that is when I got to find out that some of their rights have been infringed on. And most persons out there, they don't even know these basic rights. That they don't even know that there is a law there's a law that protects persons with disability. So, yeah. So these rights, these disabilities, persons with disabilities, they are not really protected by the government or by individuals.
Manuel, you're ready to say
to some extent, yes. It's just that awareness that is a bit lacking. Some provisions are there to
created awareness amongst people with disabilities.
Both from the government angle and of course the citizens. For
them to know that they have a right to be protected.
They have the right, and even government, on their part, they have some provision put in place to protect our rights. Yet, even with those provisions already enacted, the implementation is not there.
So you are saying that you have never been protected in terms of the employment ratio, either the federal or state government.
Yes, we have the provisions on papers. The provisions are there, and it will interest you to know that the provision of the employment aspect is actually there, where it is spelled out in the act that every employment opportunity of whether government or private, the 5% of such employment opportunities will be given to persons with disability. It is a law. So most times these provisions are not being carried out. Is it a
law or a bill now?
It is a law. It has been signed at the national level. So we are also looking at here in the state, whereby the government of Rivers State can also make that national law a state law. Of course, some states already in the federation are already aligning themselves with that national law. So the state here, if properly followed through, can actually have that law domesticated, and of course the rights that are enshrined in those acts will be fully followed through, and persons with disability will of course enjoy those rights. Like I said, the employment, 5% of every employment opportunity should be given to them.
Okay, Emmanuel Bomedia, what do we understand by accessibility for persons with disability, and why is it important for persons with disability?
So when we talk about accessibility, we talk about how you can be able to use products and services without barrier. For example, when you go to a facility, you should be able to enter into the facility, use the facility, move around the facility, and come out of the facility without any obstruction or without someone helping you. And that is a kind of an accessibility. So accessibility refers mainly to being able to use products and services without any obstruction.
All right, so this year foundation, Fair Care Foundation, what efforts have you made to draw the attention of government, either the federal or the state government, to better the lots of people with disabilities?
Okay, like this is one of this is where this disability rights initiative programs.
Yeah, aside advocacy programs, initiatives like this, have you made efforts to reach the governor one-on-one in person?
We are trying our best. Like for now, we have done advocacies. We do go for advocacy visits to different stakeholders in the states, and so we have gone to the Ministry of Social Welfare and Rehabilitation and other key stakeholders in the states to tell them about, because this project, we actually went around different local governments in Rivers State to conduct this research. You understand? So after conducting the research, that's when we found out that most of the services in the Rivers State are not accessible. So we have gone to different stakeholders in the states and to tell them that these particular maybe this building, these services, they are not accessible for persons with disabilities. So we are trying our best, though we have not reached out to the governor directly, but then we have met other different stakeholders. So they are aware of this.
All right. We'll take a short break, and when we return, Udeme and Emmanuel will still tell us more about efforts made by Fair Care Foundation to draw attention to people with disabilities in the state and, of course, at the federal level. Don't go away. Stewardship with SNB. If you have just joined us, this program is Stewardship with SNB from the studios of Rstv in Port Harcourt. Don't forget, this program is viewed only on GoTV channel 142 and on our social media handles such as YouTube and Facebook at Rstv Online. I am Solomon Nelson Bray, and my guests still in the studio are Mr. Udeme Matthias Udo. He's an advocate in the Fair Care Foundation, a foundation established to better the lots of people with disabilities. Emmanuel, Udeme, welcome to our program again.
Thank you. So
and then I also have Emmanuel Obomedia, is a program officer, Fair Care Foundation.
Thank you.
All right. You have said that you give empowerment to people with disabilities, which also include women and other people, and capacity building programs and all of that. How much of this empowerment has Fair Care Foundation done for women and children and youth who are members of the disabled family?
Okay, like you said, we have different programs for these persons with disability. Okay, so in our organization, we have a program called Hope Again Initiative. So
Hope Again?
Yes, that Hope Again is mainly a program for persons with disability, either men or women with disability. And even currently we're having a program called Leadership and Digital Training for women and girls with disability to empower them in different life skills and leadership skills, so that they can be able to stand on their own and to know so many things.
When last did you do that?
We're currently on that.
You're on now?
Yes, we're currently on that program. And over the years, we have also empower children through.
What's the size of participation? How many persons participated in the program?
50. This program is leadership. Is
50?
Yes, 50 women. 25 from River State and 25 from Akwa Ibom State. So that's what we're
You're covering the South
yes,
or something?
River State and Akwa Ibom.
Okay, these are the two states.
Yes.
Bayelsa is close by. Why are you not including Bayelsa?
Maybe time
Paucity of
coming.
funds or something?
Time coming. Maybe with time we will include it. And so we have also empowered children. Like currently we have children under our education support. We support children with education, pay their school fees and all that, and also the orphans in the society. So we have reached out to these persons through different of our programs, we have.
All right, Udeme, can we look at the types of accessibilities for people with disabilities? Can we look at the types of accessibility?
Yeah, we have the physical accessibility, which has to do with the infrastructure that we have in place where people can go and access one or two services, like your office. I must commend the organization of this
Rstv television.
Yeah, to some extent, the place is accessible to any kind, any person with disability. So that's the physical aspect there. Structures of governments, private organizations, how accessible are their structures? That is the physical aspect of accessibility that we are championing to call the attention of the public to look into it. And also the road infrastructures. Some of the roads are very, very unfriendly, if I should use that word. They are not that friendly with us.
Impassable.
Very, very, in fact, challenging in some ways to persons with disability. Even the road users, those transport workers, most of them, they don't look at these individuals as part of the society. Sometimes they neglect them, they ignore them, even with their money. to transport themselves to any place of their choices. They sometimes denying them those rights. So those are the physical aspect of accessibility that we are calling on the public to look into. We also have the educational aspect of it. Most times our institutions are not accessible by persons with disability. You will see a whole institution that is being put out for citizens, which persons with disability are part of. They will say, when you apply for admission or you go there to seek for admission, they say, no, we don't have facility to accommodate you because you cannot see. Oh, because you are hearing impaired, oh, we can't accommodate you. You have one limb or whatever physical handicapping condition, they say, no, this place is not meant for you. I don't know where they are pushing the people with disability to. So those are the areas that we are looking at accessibility. Accessibility is almost everywhere. Where you see human, where human is, of course, accessibility is something that should not be taken away from such environment. And of course, persons with disability, like I said, are human and of course part and parcel of the society. So accessibility should be for all, not to only those who are without any form of disability, but for all. Be it education, health, of course, I've not said something about health. Health infrastructures should be in place in such a way that persons with disability can go in and access it without being restrained or discriminated. That is exactly what we are looking at accessibility. So those are the things. Even the worship centers, most of the worship centers in the state, all over the world, most times they are not accessible. The construction of such edifices sometimes are quite discriminatory. So those are the areas that we are looking at the public paying attention to accessibility before they even design such infrastructure. They should take into consideration persons with disability. Of course, there is what we call universal design principle. It is there. It's a document, international document, that every individual who want to go into building or constructing any building should look into before starting from the scratch and put into consideration persons with disability. Would they be able to access this facility after constructing it? From the beginning, they should plan and put them into consideration. So those are the areas accessibility is being seen. And we are calling on the attention of the public, the government, and of course the private hands to please be on deck to make sure that everyone is being considered in any goods or services that is being available in the society.
All right, let me turn to Emmanuel Obamudia. Oftentimes, people with disabilities are discriminated against. Do we still see such things? And if they are there, how do we correct them?
They are still there. Like during the course of this project, we actually wanted for fieldwork and answering questionnaires. So, and that's where we found out that so many persons, they have really negative attitudes towards persons with disability. There was a question that was asked: should persons with disability interfere in family activities? So one of the respondents looked at me and said, someone with disability should not even contribute to what is happening in the family. I was like, wow, how? He said no, because they have nothing to offer. So that was when I brought my attention, and I told her that these persons with disability, I say most of them, they are very, very intellectually inclined. Maybe you have not seen, but then these people, they have one form of ability that even you, that is able person, you cannot even perform some of the things they do. So yeah, so these are some of.
So how do we guide against this discriminatory attitude from society towards people with disabilities?
Government should just pass the law. Then there should be a law, that there should be a fine, that if you are caught in the act discriminating against persons with disability, you should be punished and should be fined for that.
Okay, that should be legislation.
Yes, yes.
All right. Is that your view?
We have it already. It's there. Just like I said earlier, that's the Disability Prohibition Act of 2018. If considered here in the state, there are sanctions to
the laws are there.
Offenders, yes.
So
just
they are not activated.
The implementation is what we are also calling for. If the law is properly followed and implemented, we will not have any of this infringement of our rights. Let me share a little of my experience. I wanted to, yes, when I wanted to get married to my wife, the family wanted to say no. They of course say no, but my wife stood on my ground and said no. This is the person I want to
living
marry.
with disability.
Yeah, no,
she's not.
She finished her NYSC a year before. After I think 2 years before I get into the family to ask her in marriage. So they wanted to say no. You have been in the university. You've not seen any sighted person around that you want to marry. This very one without sight. That's the one you are bringing to us. It was a serious issue. So the lady stood her ground and said, no, this is the one I want to marry. And that was how the whole process went through. And
she's still with you now?
We got married. And by
you got children?
Yes, I had a child last year by God's special grace.
That's interesting.
Yes, without any disability. So there's that a stigma that the public are still expressing towards us. And it will interest you that I have finished my program without sight, up to master's level.
Oh, that's interesting.
Without sight. I got a motor accident that impaired my vision while I was trying to enter into the university. Imagine from O level to master's level without sight. So it's actually something that the people sometimes don't look at and try to welcome and appreciate the ability that we have, regardless of that which they see as a disability in us. So those are the things that we are experiencing, which we are still calling on the public to just see us and not the disability in us. That's what we need to let them know.
Any final word from you, Emmanuel? All right.
See us and not the disability.
Okay.
The United Nations Organization of course, is actually looking at a society where everybody will be carried along. And they came up with this slogan, leave no one behind. So it's actually something that everybody should put their hands to make sure that persons with disability are not being sidelined in any government programs and policies.
All right. As you may have heard from Udeme Matthias Udo, he's married with a child that he had last year. He's married to a lady who has a sight. Of course, she's able, and she never discriminated against him, even though her family members stand in opposition to the marriage. But she stood her ground. Emmanuel Udeme Matthias Udo, I must thank you for finding that to come to Rstv studio.
Thank you so much.
And then I have Emmanuel Ubomedia, Program Officer, Fair Care Foundation. Thank you so much for your time.